Is Tarik Skubal truly a realistic option for the Boston Red Sox?
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Maljanian, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I'm here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox, Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed. And the best part, it's all free. So make sure you tune in because Locked On is here for you every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. Sound enticing? Don't worry, I'll tell you all about it later on in today's show, but we are one day closer to things really opening up, and things are no longer going to be rumors across Major League Baseball, but teams are actually going to be starting to make moves to improve their teams, hopefully, for 2026 and beyond. Now, you look at this World Series matchup, the Blue Jays and the Dodgers, two teams that were not afraid to spend money and get big-time contracts on the books with proven talent that can help them win a championship. Both of these teams have built teams that are built for winning championships. I mean, you look at where the Blue Jays are at right now, and you compare that to where the Red Sox are at right now. And if the Red Sox make a few strong moves this offseason, they could be right there with the Blue Jays in terms of contention in the AL East. So this is a crucial offseason for Boston. And on today's show, I'm going to be discussing potentially upgrading the catcher position, also Connelly early versus Payton Tolle. Who would we prefer at the end of the day when it comes down to it? But Tarik Skubal, a name that has just been ringing across Major League Baseball as of late. He's scheduled to be a free agent at the end of the 2026 season. And the Tigers are obviously trying to extend him, but the rumor going around is that the team and Tarik Skubal are far off in terms of where they want to be when it comes to an extension. Tarik Skubal wants a lot more than what the Tigers proposed originally. So because he's going to hit free agency, if the Tigers can't work out a deal with him now, then they probably should look to shop him this offseason, because the last thing they want to do is to let him walk for nothing. And if they wait until the trade deadline to trade him, he may be a little bit cheaper for them, because of the fact that teams will know that the Tigers are desperate at that point. If they can't work out an extension for him and it's the trade deadline right before he hits free agency, teams aren't going to be willing to give up as much, knowing that the Tigers kind of need to get rid of him. And because he's going to be a free agent, the justification teams have is, why would I trade for him now when I can just wait until he becomes a free agent and then try to sign him then? So that's where we're at. So if I'm the Boston Red Sox and there is any sort of ounce of talk of Tarik Skubal being available, I am 100% pursuing him. So the Red Sox have $21.05 million coming off of the books this season from Walker Buehler. Plus, if Lucas Giolito doesn't come back to Boston, that's another pitching contract that's off the books. So from a financial perspective, the Red Sox could afford to add Tarik Skubal, because they, in all rights of the word, should try to extend him if they do trade for him. He won the American League Cy Young Award last season and is the favorite to win it again this year. The two-time All-Star boasted a blistering 2.21 ERA, which trailed only Paul Skeens, and he went 13-6 with 241 strikeouts. The Red Sox ended up trading for Crochet last offseason before signing him to a 6-year contract. So it wouldn't be the most outrageous thing to see the Red Sox try to do the same thing with Skubal this offseason, where they trade for him and then try to give him this big extension. And we can't sit here and say it's not possible to be able to have a 1-2 punch of Crochet and Skubal, because you know what? Look at what the Dodgers are doing. The Dodgers have built an empire of a starting rotation, and they are on the verge of winning yet another World Series. Anybody can do it. The question is, do the Red Sox want to do that, and do they want to commit to that financially? Because if they have Tarik Skubal and Garrett Crochet in their rotation, that would be a no doubt World Series contending rotation with those two at the helm. So the problem with that is, because he's going to be a free agent, Craig Breslow might be hesitant when it comes to being interested in trading for him, because he might be worried about giving up a lot of top tier talent for a guy that may not be guaranteed to stay in Boston more than 1 year. So the justification would be, well, we just really have to hope that we can extend him. I don't know how open to taking that risk Breslow is, because there is a possibility that the Red Sox decide that they want to bring in Skubal, and then they're trading essentially for a rental, because then he could hit free agency at the end of next season. And then the Red Sox are kind of stuck back at square one in a place where they don't really know how to proceed from there, because they gave up all this talent for him, and then he decides to go elsewhere. And then again, they're stuck without that number 2 starter when they still have Garrett Crochet, and then they'd have to basically start the process all over again. So I could see that being a bit of a hesitation on the Red Sox end, is not wanting to risk trading for him and then him leaving to free agency and then going elsewhere. So if the Red Sox do decide that they want to trade for Tarik Skubal, this is going to be a steep, hefty asking price. Anybody who thinks the Red Sox are going to get away with just giving up one major league player and maybe one prospect for him, that is just not how this is going to go. So basically, the Tigers, as of right now, from sources and things that I'm hearing, are possibly looking for 2 top-level starting pitchers and then also a position player prospect in return for Skubal. So essentially, that's looking like 2 pitchers who are already at the major league level or are at least MLB ready, plus a position player prospect. So for the Red Sox, what could that potentially look like? So it's possible that a mock trade for Skubal could look like the Red Sox get Skubal, and then the Tigers receive both Connelly early and Payton Tolle, and then they also receive the password Joe Stinkson Garcia. Now, Garcia made his MLB debut in 2025 due to injuries late in the season, and he struggled, and then he went back down to AAA. Early and Tolle also made their debuts on the mound due to pitching injuries that the Red Sox had, and both showed a lot of promise. So that could be potentially what a package would look like. Or they could maybe talk their way into keeping one of Early or Tolle if they were to swap in left-hander Brandon Clark and upgrade the position player in the deal from the password to infielder Franklin Arias, because Brandon Clark and Franklin Arias are both top 10 prospects in the Red Sox system. So if they were to give up those 2, then maybe the Tigers would say, okay, you can keep one of those 2 pitchers in Early or Tolle. But the point is that it's going to be a steep price to pay. And infielder Franklin Arias, that's somebody who the Red Sox really need to consider is, do they have a spot for him if he eventually makes his way up? Do they see guys like Christian Campbell and Marcelo Meyer truly being part of the future of this team? Because if the answer is yes, it could be hard to justify keeping him around, in which case then they could try to talk the Tigers into wanting him instead of Joe Stinkson Garcia. On the flip side of that, though, with the overcrowded outfield that the Red Sox have right now, their outfield future might be set right now to the point where they would be okay with parting ways with the password. This is what happens when you have a team that has the kind of depth that the Red Sox have, especially in their farm system, to be able to have options of what makes sense for them to do when it comes to who to give up. This is just nothing at all like the Crochet situation last offseason. The bottom line with this is that trading for Skubal would likely gut the farm system, and the Red Sox would have to be okay with that. The odds also of getting him to sign an extension before he hits free agency next winter are very unlikely, given the fact that he's about to win his second Cy Young Award, and it's already being whispered that he wants a $400 million contract. So even if the Red Sox are truly re-entering this big market phase of trying to act like a big market team, it's really hard to imagine them paying more than double what Crochet's price tag is for one pitcher. So that is the big hesitation here. Is obviously I'm not closing the door on anything, and having Skubal and Crochet both on this team would be a dream come true. But I don't know that the Red Sox would be willing to pay that steep of a price, basically being willing to gut their farm system, give up a couple major league players that they feel have potential, and then risk him walking after one season. So we'll have to see what happens. Obviously, Skubal would be a dream, but it may or may not happen. But coming up, something that could happen this offseason, but likely not. Are the Red Sox going to upgrade the catcher role at all? Let's be honest, most of us can't even name all our financial accounts, let alone what they're worth. Between 401ks, savings, and investments, it's easy to lose track, and that can mean leaving money on the table. That's exactly where Monarch comes in, and that's why I started using it, because it's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch's visual dashboards and smart tools make it so much easier to understand where my money is going and how to make it work harder for me. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarch.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarch.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. If you're also looking to not only save money using Monarch, but also make more money, you should join PrizePicks. Every day we make decisions, but on PrizePicks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss the excitement of this football season with PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. Playing PrizePicks is such a fun, simple way to add more excitement to football. You just pick more or less on player projections, like Josh Allen's passing yards or Saquon Barkley rushing for a touchdown, and you're in the game. My favorite part, PrizePicks just added stacks. So if I want to ride with a player, I can select their pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns all in one lineup. There's also a special max discount promotion live on the board right now. For the Golden State Warriors versus Los Angeles Lakers game, Steph Curry is discounted to only needing more than half a point to win. Mix and match players from football, basketball, and baseball to build your dream lineup today. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. Who can deny that they like being right? I mean, we all do, but being right while also making money, I mean, that's a dream combo. So can't turn that down. So definitely download PrizePicks today. Although we can all dream, dreams are not always reality. And in the case of the Red Sox trading for Tarik Skubal, that seems like a lot more of a dream than reality. I don't know that the Red Sox would be down for giving up as much as they would have to give up to get a pitcher like that. But the possibility of Skubal being on the trading block, if the Tigers can't work out an extension with him, is certainly there. So the Red Sox definitely do have to keep their eye open, because they would be stupid not to at least make the phone call if he is. So obviously, whether they get Skubal or not, they do need to address their starting pitching situation this offseason and acquire a true number 2 starter to put behind Garrett Crochet. But another area that was pretty weak for the Red Sox in 2025 was their catching situation. They had Carlos Narvaez and Connor Wong, both of which had their strengths, but also both of which had their weaknesses. So they essentially had a complementary skill set, because Carlos Narvaez provided better defense overall, but Connor Wong brought a little bit more offense. So bringing in a veteran to split time or act as a primary backup, that's an upgrade from Connor Wong, would definitely help balance the position and reduce the workload that Carlos Narvaez would have on him. And certainly there's a lot of promise with Narvi because he has shown us multiple times that there's potential there. But the problem is that his offense in the second half took a major decline. He definitely had a strong first half, but he hit just 111 in the second half of the season, which is a common slump for young players with heavy workloads. And his workload was a lot because during the first half of the season, when he was playing really well, the Red Sox kind of established him as the number one catcher with Connor Wong as the sound backup. So he was taking on more of the workload and just playing more. So he could have been fatigued in the second half of the season because he just wasn't used to that kind of workload. But the offensive productivity just definitely wasn't there in the second half. Defensive concerns also come into play with these catchers because Wong is a defensive liability behind the plate, ranking near the bottom of the league in pitch framing and blocking in 2024. And then in 2025, he didn't really show a lot of improvement defensively. Still definitely has a good arm, but he had a big issue behind the plate. An upgrade is definitely limited to limit those defensive shortcomings that the Red Sox had. And not that Carlos Narvaez was perfect defensively. I mean, he had his issues with the catcher's interference and passed balls late in the season, but overall, he was a pretty sound defender compared to what we got from Wong. So Wong did undergo hand surgery too after the 2025 season, making his status for 2026 uncertain, which also highlights the need for more reliable depth at the position. Bringing in a veteran catcher with strong game calling skills and good rapport with pitchers could significantly benefit a young, evolving pitching staff. Because here's the thing. Connor Wong definitely provided value. I mean, he helped fix Aroldis Chapman, basically, which kind of came out of nowhere. He fixed his command and helped Chapman to have this really dominant season in 2025 as the closer. But he was also Brian Bayo's personal catcher. Bayo threw really well when he had Connor Wong catching him. So there's definitely still pluses to having Connor Wong here, especially when it comes to Brian Bayo starts. He could catch for him. But bringing in somebody else who's a little bit more reputable and valuable in terms of productivity on both sides of the ball could be really beneficial for the Red Sox. Now, is this something that's going to happen? I don't necessarily see it being realistic. I could see them just continuing to roll with what they have in the catcher spot, but it's something to think about because there are some catchers that could be available. JT Realmuto is a free agent. At 35 years old, he offers a clear offensive and defensive upgrade, but his age and potential contract demands could be a concern and could steer the Red Sox away from wanting to do that. Victor Caratini, the 32-year-old, offers more offensive potential than Wong and would be a steady veteran presence on this Red Sox team. There's also James McCann, who provides extensive experience as a veteran backup, but not exactly a significant offensive upgrade. So that's something the Red Sox would have to be okay with. Austin Hedges is a defense-first catcher who would provide elite defense behind the plate, similar to the role Carlos Narvaez played initially. So those are the options in free agency. Obviously not anybody that really stands out, but all of these guys are veteran experienced catchers who would be a slight upgrade from Connor Wong at the very least. There's also trade candidates. I mean, Samuel Basallo from the Orioles, definitely not happening. One of the top prospects in baseball and is projected to have a major league role in 2026 in a lot bigger capacity because the Orioles signed him to this big extension. So chances are he's going to be part of their future. Though a trade for him would likely be very costly and is a long shot, it would definitely provide a top tier long-term solution to pair with Carlos Narvaez. Pedro Pages from the Cardinals is a solid defensive catcher who could be a trade candidate because the Cardinals have other catching prospects in their system, so they might be looking to move him, so that could be an option. And Jefferson Cuero from the Brewers, similar to Basallo, he's a top prospect who might be available in a larger deal. Like all trade targets, he would cost significant prospect capital, and the Brewers may end up wanting to keep him. So the trades don't feel super within reach. I don't know that any of these guys would necessarily be moved, but the free agents, the Red Sox could consider upgrading the backup catcher spot, but if it's going to be too expensive, for example, if they're interested in JT Realmuto and his demands are too high for a contract, I could see the Red Sox saying, no, we don't necessarily need it because we can roll with the tandem that we have of Narvaez and Wong. The thing I would say for the Red Sox to consider is the fact that catcher is definitely not the priority this offseason, and I would definitely rather see them spend their money elsewhere if it comes down to it at the end of the day. But if there's an opportunity to upgrade other positions and also upgrade the backup catcher role, I would definitely say that's something that the Red Sox should consider doing if the opportunity arises. Given the strengths of Carlos Narvaez and the Red Sox promising farm system, the Red Sox don't necessarily have to acquire a high-end starting catcher. Their focus should be on adding a reliable, experienced catcher that can act as a primary backup to Narvaez and somebody who's a little bit cheaper. Realmuto might be a little too much from an asking price standpoint for what the Red Sox would want to invest in a new catcher. So they wouldn't have to necessarily overcommit resources, but they would feel like maybe they have a more sound catching tandem than what they have now. And this isn't disrespect to Connor Wong. He still works fine as a backup catcher, but it does get to be tough when you feel like the catching tandem more often than not are automatic outs in the lineup. That's something that I'm hoping that gets addressed. And if Carlos Narvaez can improve his offensive performance a little bit, then we're totally fine in that area. But that's a big if he's able to be reliable offensively and he is able to get back to what we saw from him in the first half of the season when he was hitting very well and providing a lot of offense for this Red Sox team. If he can be that version of him, then that would be great. But if not, then we are looking at a tough tandem of catchers here. So I'm sure it's something the Red Sox will definitely look into, but don't expect any sort of big move. They definitely do see Carlos Narvaez as a sound starting catcher for the foreseeable future. So if anything, it would just be upgrading the backup catcher role and having it not be Connor Wong and be slotting somebody else in there. And if that's the case, then that would be great because then they feel like they have an upgrade, but it's not going to be somebody who's going to be a huge standout player that's going to cost a lot of money. And likely I don't really see them making a trade unless they don't have to give up a lot of capital in that regard either, because they don't see it as a top area of need for this team. So we'll have to see how that all plays out with the catcher position. Will I be mad if the Red Sox don't decide to upgrade that position? No, because I know that there are much deeper fish to fry when it comes to this Red Sox team and other areas that are very much a priority. It's going to be a lot more of a situation where if the opportunity arises and there's a catcher that kind of falls into the Red Sox lap at a very reasonable price, then I would say, yeah, why not do it? Why not continue to upgrade positions when you can? But if they go into 2026 with Wong and Narvaez as their two catchers, then that's fine. And they will make that work. And it will be what it is. And we just hope that Narvaez continues to take strides and that Wong continues to just be a serviceable backup. So we'll have to see how that all plays out. But coming up, if we had to pick one or the other, should the Red Sox keep Connelly early or Payton Tolle? If you love sports betting, FanDuel is the perfect place for you. And with the NFL season here, it has an offer that you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. It's the perfect place to bet on any sports, and you can make lots of money while doing it. Let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress, I'm tired, or it happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support. And that's where Rugiet comes in. Rugiet.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rugiet makes it to get started. You just connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online. No awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. Visit rugiet.com/LockedOnMLB to get 15% off your first order. That's rugiet.com/LockedOnMLB. And don't forget to use our code LockedOnMLB so they know we sent you. Rugiet. Stop making excuses and start making moves. As we sit here and contemplate what moves the Red Sox are going to make this offseason, there's no denying that they need to be aggressive. They need to make moves that are going to make them true World Series contenders. And if they look at the Dodgers roster right now, there's no reason why the Boston Red Sox, a big market team, cannot try to field a roster that's as competitive as that Dodgers team. And that involves spending money, and that involves not being afraid to give up prospects for big-time players. And Craig Breslow has shown us a little bit of the fact that he's not afraid to give guys up if it's for the betterment of the team. And when it comes to making trades, if the Red Sox do want to make some big trades this offseason, we could see one of their young pitching stars go. Connelly early and Payton Tolle potentially both could be on the trading block this offseason if it came down to it at the end of the day. Now, they're both very talented. They both got called up to the majors late in the season in 2025, and they both showed a lot of potential. And Connelly early got to start in a postseason game, which is very big experience for him. Payton Tolle came out in relief in the playoffs. So both of them got really good experience and they both showed a lot of potential. Connelly early is a left-handed pitcher with a focus on control and off-speed pitches, whereas Payton Tolle is a right-handed pitcher known for a high-velocity fastball and less refined secondary pitches. Early's debut was huge, 11 strikeouts in that performance, while Tolle's career is definitely still trying to get on its feet. And he was moved to the bullpen primarily to get him used to major league life a little bit more, but also due to how the pitching lined up for the Red Sox. So Connelly early's strength is that he has really good pitch control and he has a strong ability to generate whips, and his curveball is a really good pitch. So his off-speed pitches are a lot more refined, and he relies more on his off-speed pitches and control to get outs. And the Red Sox are kind of trying to figure out going into 2026 what role he's going to play on this team. Payton Tolle's pitching style is that he relies very heavily on his powerful fastball. He has high velocity, topping out at 100.8 miles per hour. He still needs to develop his secondary pitches, though, such as his changeup and curveball. Those are pitches that he's still working on. And he was able to work as a starter. The Red Sox also tried him as a reliever, and they're trying to feel out what's best for him, but he still needs more time before he can be a full-time starter when it comes to especially developing those secondary pitches. So which one to choose ultimately depends on what is most important to the Red Sox. If they need a pitcher who can generate strikeouts and get outs with his control and off-speed stuff, then Connelly early is definitely the choice. They would choose Tolle if they're looking for somebody with a high-velocity fastball, but they'd have to be okay with him not being the sharpest with his secondary pitches. So obviously there is a world and a high chance in which the Red Sox are able to keep both of these guys. So this may not even end up being a debate, but if it comes down to it and a team is asking for one of these two in a trade and the Red Sox need to decide in order to pull the trigger and make a trade happen for whatever player it is that they want, I am saying at the end of the day, keep Connelly early because he's a little bit more refined. The Red Sox really do value hit and miss stuff. And if they want a guy who's more likely to pitch deeper into games for them, then Connelly early is going to be that guy. With Payton Tolle, he's still developing a lot. and you don't really know what that's going to look like moving forward when he continues to develop his off-speed pitches. And a team might want Payton Tolle because they might like the idea of a guy who has a really strong fastball and is still developing his secondary stuff, so that they and their pitching coaches can work with him to get up to speed with where they want him to be. So teams might be open to trading for a guy like Payton Tolle if it came down to it at the end of the day. They both have strengths, they both have weaknesses and things that they're working on. But because Connelly early is a little bit more refined right now, if the Red Sox are looking for a guy who can pitch every 5 days and likely be a key piece of the rotation moving forward, then early feels like that guy because he's going to get the swings and misses. He's hopefully going to be able to pitch deeper into games the more experience and reps that he does get, and the more he's going to be able to be a guy who the Red Sox can rely on down the road to be a key part of their rotation. So again, strengths and weaknesses to both. Connelly early does need to improve on his velocity a little bit because he's going to get hit if he isn't able to throw, especially his fastball, a little bit harder and a little bit faster. So that's something in his game that I am looking for him to continue working on in 2026 and beyond. But they could keep both of them. And Payton Tolle, if the Red Sox do decide to keep him, is likely going to be pitching out of the bullpen as opposed to out of the rotation. Connelly early, it could go either way. But with early, he's a guy who the Red Sox definitely could rely on in a rotation spot to be that number 4 or 5 starter moving forward, while allowing him to continue to increase his velocity and up his volume in terms of his workload and how many pitches he's throwing per outing. And if the Red Sox go out and get a true number 2 starter to put behind Garrett Crochet, then that would take a lot of that pressure off of early to have to perform at a really high level early on, when he would be fine as a number 4 or 5 starter as he continues to develop. So we'll have to see if teams are interested in one of those pitchers when it comes to a trade. But if they want to make that type of trade, probably worth it to get a top-notch player to come back to Boston in return. So thank you for tuning in to Locked On Red Sox. I truly appreciate you making it your first listen of every single day. Be sure to also check out Locked On MLB Game Night, which happens every game, every single night, all the way up until a World Series champion is crowned. So our local Locked On hosts record this show after every game, all the way up until the season officially ends after the World Series. You can get local analysis on a national scale. Just find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's a great show, I promise you. Make sure you check that out next. And as always, keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I'll catch you on the flip side.